Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Eli and I run my own small business, Crochet Made by Eli. You can also find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Etsy under the same username. For this week's video, we are going to be redoing one of my oldest crochet plushies, this Jellyfish. I made this guy over 2 years ago for my youngest brother, and as you can see, it has not held up well. My magic ring at the top is starting to come undone. There's holes all over and the base of it is completely coming undone. As you can imagine, my crochet skills have improved immensely over the last year of starting my crochet business, and I have learned a lot more techniques that I did not know when I made some of my first projects. So like when I made this, I was not comfortable sewing with plush yarn, so I sewed the pieces together using this black thread. I understuffed it. I didn't know how to attach things. I attached all of the tendrils with just little knots and stuff, and it's just very rough. So I figured it was time to redo this, make a better one, and I thought I could bring you guys with me and show you all of the little techniques I know now that I didn't know when I made this. So first thing we need to do obviously is take it apart. So I'm going to be taking these pieces apart, winding up this yarn, and then I will see you guys to start on the actual jellyfish. Alrighty, I've got my yarn into an actual ball now. I didn't take apart the little tendril thingies because I'm planning to take them apart and then immediately turn it into a new one. So we're just going to set those aside for now. There is so much fluff all over my bed. Let me just show you guys. I tried to put it in one pile as best as I can, but the amount of fluff that came out of this was crazy. But now that it is all in one ball, I can actually start crocheting again. And it's funny how small it looks when you take it apart. But I believe this is just Bernat blanket yarn. If it's not Bernat, it was just Mainstays, some cheap yarn I got at Walmart probably. But it is a blanket yarn. I think I'm going to use a 5mm with it because that's typically what I use for a yarn around this weight. Now there are a ton of differences in my crochet now versus when I started. One of the things though is that I didn't know how to do a magic ring, and I didn't know that I didn't know. I was taught primarily by my aunt when I was a kid, and she has her own business as well. She sells custom hats and her hats are beautiful. But she had taught me this magic ring method where you chain 3, slip stitch to the first one to create a loop, and then you work around the tail so you can close it like a magic ring without actually making a magic ring. And I didn't know that that wasn't how they're done. And a lot of the time it made my magic ring very bulky, and I just didn't know how to close it tight or secure it at all. But I know how to do a magic ring properly now, so that's what we're going to be doing. And I also always start my amigurumi patterns when I can with a single crochet instead of the normal 6, because I find when I have 6 it just makes it very pointed, and having 8 makes it a lot flatter. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I've got 6, 7, 8. So I've got 8 single crochet in my magic ring, pulling that tight. And another thing, like I said, that I didn't do is I didn't secure my magic rings. And I know this is something that a lot of people actually don't do, but when you're working with plush yarn or just any project really, over time it can loosen up, and if you don't tie a secure knot, your magic ring can come undone. And especially with plushies, when kids are going to be playing with them, they're going to be rough with them, and you have to expect that. So what I do after I close up my magic ring, I make sure I have my loop on my hook like this, and then I tie a knot between the tail and the working yarn. And I always tie 2 knots just to make it really secure. And this doesn't affect the look of the magic ring at all, but it makes sure that your magic ring will not come undone. So I just tied 2 knots like that, and again, making sure the loop is on your hook, because if you take it off your hook, you're gonna lose that loop and your stitches are gonna come undone. But that's what it looks like. My tail is tucked behind, and then I can move on to the next round like normal. For this, I'm going to be doing regular increases. So first round, we put 8 single crochet. So for round 2, we're going to do 8 increases. So an increase in every single stitch. So there's round 2, and because I started with 8 single crochet, it's fully flat right now. It's not poking up at all, and that's the look that I like to do for my plushies. I've always just found with my tension and the yarn that I'm using, hook size, whatever, when I do 6 single crochet, it just makes a bit of a triangle. So for round 3, we're going to continue on with the increasing pattern. So we're going to do 1 single crochet and then an increase in the second stitch. I haven't decided how big this is going to be, but I think I'm going to do probably 5 rounds and then see how big it is and see if that feels good enough. I want it to be similar size to what it was before, of course, but with having just different tension and different techniques, I'm not sure exactly how far the yarn is going to go. For round 4, we're going to do 2 single crochet and then increase in the third stitch. For round 5, we're going to do 3 single crochet and then increase into the fourth. Hopefully you guys can see the pattern coming along here. Alright, here's what we're looking like after round 5, and this is definitely too small still. So I think I'm going to do 2 more rounds of increases before we move onto the sides of the body. So the next round is going to be 4 single crochet, increase, and then the following round is 5 single crochet, increase. Alright, here's what we're looking like after 6 rounds, and I think I'm going to leave it at this and not do another round of increasing. I feel like this is big enough, and it always gets a little bit bigger as you build the sides of the body, and I do need to make sure I have enough yarn to actually finish this because I don't have any extras of this anywhere. I actually used to have a little scrap skein of this somewhere, but I think I used it all on some projects. So now that I have finished the increases, we're going to work on the sides to make the body. Typically when making amigurumi and you're making like a circle, we usually do 1 more round than we did for the top. So there's 6 for the top, so I'm going to do 7 rounds for the side and then see if that gets us to a good length. We might need to do like 8 instead, and then I'll show you guys where we're at probably after 7 rounds. Alrighty, here's what we're looking like after 7 rounds of the body. So 6 for the top and then 7 rounds on the side with no increases, decreases, or anything. It's definitely still short and needs another round, but I'm gonna do a decrease round, and then the following one will be making the like frilly part on the side. There's a couple reasons why I'm doing a decrease. Main one is yarn. I just want to make sure I have enough yarn. But also I think the look of just a slight decrease just looks cute on jellyfish, octopus, whatever. So I'm going to do 1 decrease round, and I'm going to do it the same as what my last increase round was. So for my last increase round, I did 4 single crochets and then an increase. So for my decrease, I'm going to do 4 single crochet and then a decrease. And then I will check in with you guys on how it's looking after this decrease round. Okay, so here's how we're looking after the 1 decrease round. I do feel like the body could use another round, but again, I am very worried about not having enough yarn, especially after I finish the little scallopy type trim. So we're going to move on to do that now. Typically with a pattern like this, we do the scallop trim in the front loop only. Now I've done this trim a few different ways before. Most recently I did 3 half double crochet in each stitch, but I've also done one where I do, I think it's a half double, 2 double, half double, skip a stitch, slip stitch. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna try it out first, see how it's looking, and then let you guys know what I actually did for it. Okay, this is what I'm doing. It's a very small scallop, but I think it'll work. So all in 1 stitch in the front loop, I did a half double crochet and then 2 double crochet. In the next stitch, I slip stitched, and then I skip a stitch and repeat it. So it's just half, double, double, slip stitch, skip a stitch. So I'm just going to work that for the whole round and then see how that's going to look. I don't think the math is going to work out perfect on that to end in the right spot, but I'll figure it out and I'll make it work. Alrighty, I'm just coming up to the end of the round and I've got 1 extra stitch, so I am just going to slip stitch. And now we can move on to the decrease round. So for my jellyfish, I like to do 1 round of decrease, and then I'll start adding in all of the little tendrils, tentacles. I still don't know what the right term is for that. I will look that up later. But we are going to do a decrease round, and we're going to work this in the back loops. So it is very hard to see with plush yarn, but since we were only working in the front loops, the back loops are all open. You can kind of see them the bumps under there. So we're going to be working in those back loops, and we're going to continue with the decrease pattern. So our last round of decrease was 4 single crochet, 1 decrease. So we're going to do 3 single crochet and then a decrease. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and work into the back loops of each one, 3 single crochet and then a decrease. When working in the back loops, especially with plush yarn, it can be really hard to see them. So you can always just put stitch markers into each of the back loops if it helps, if you need it. It will be a lot of stitch markers, but when you're starting out, or if you're just not super familiar with this process, that might be a step you want to do. Okay, here is our first round of decreases. So you can see it's just going straight in after the kind of scalloped edge. Now I'm gonna pause on the body here and switch over to these guys because there are quite a few ways that you can add tentacles, tendrils, or whatever to your pieces, and the easiest way, the no-sew way, is to just chain up, work all your single crochet back down, slip stitch, and then continue your round. But just with the yarn that I have and it being in pieces and everything, I'm gonna make them separate and then see if I can crochet them in as I go. So I am just going to take these apart and test out and see how I want to make them. I also need to decide how tight of a spiral I want, because personally I love the look of like a really, really tight spiral, but I know with the jellyfish it's a little more realistic to have ones like this, right, where they are loose and flowy. And honestly, I kind of like these ones. Now I'm just debating, like, do I really need to remake these? Because, I mean, they're all different lengths, but I kind of like that look. I wonder if I made them different lengths on purpose. Probably not. I'm sure that was an accident. But 5, I have a 6 one somewhere. I don't mind these. Okay, I am just gonna decide real quick if I actually want to take them apart and redo them or just leave them as is. Alright, so I decided I am gonna leave them as is because honestly, I think the loose spiral is more realistic to a jellyfish, and my brother loved these. The only problem was just it falling apart. So I'm gonna do a little bit of work on the top of each one just so that they're not like falling apart. And I can also only find 5. I was so certain that there were 6. Maybe there were only 5 and I'm just crazy, but I do still have quite a bit of yarn left, so I think that I can add a couple in as I go. So I'm just going to real quick work this round and single crochet these in as I go, and then I'm going to leave space to add probably 1 more, and I'll tell you guys like the steps I do to add that one, because if I were to write a pattern with this, I would crochet them as I go, not separate, and then add them in. So this round does need to be another decrease round. It's going to be 2 single crochet and then a decrease. So I think maybe like every 3rd or 4th stitch I will single crochet these in, I think. All right, I know I said I was gonna add another one, but I ended up just doing the 5. And I think it works totally fine. I spaced them out fairly even. They're not like perfect, but I think they're pretty good. So I am going to stuff this now and then move on to the decrease rounds. I only need to do 2 more decrease rounds, and look at how much yarn I have. I totally could have done another body round, but once it's stuffed, it'll be a little bit higher like that. So I think it'll be totally fine. And then maybe I can just make a little mini octo or something to make for my brother. So let me just stuff this real quick. Another problem that I had with my plushies when I first started out is I always understuffed them. I did not realize how much stuffing you really need to put into your plushies, and it is always way more than you think, especially for plushies that are going to be played with and they're not like a display thing. They are going to compress after a while and kind of lose some of that fluff. So you want to stuff it until you think it's good and then stuff it some more. I also love using scrap yarn in my stuffing now. So I'm just grabbing the scrap yarn that I keep on my dresser. as I'm making plushies, the little ends and stuff, I always just kind of tuck right here. And then as I start the next plushie, I put them all inside of it. Now the one thing with this one is I did forget to ask my brother if he wanted eyes on it, because it originally had eyes and then they fell out pretty quick because I didn't put them in properly and my stitches were too loose, and I know he liked it without the eyes, so I'm assuming that he doesn't want eyes. If he does, I will just embroider them on after. He also told me he wants it to be very squishy and a little bit understuffed, so while I'm gonna stuff it more than I did the first time, I'm not gonna stuff it as much as I would for my normal or like my other pieces, because he likes them kind of floppy and squishy. So that's looking pretty good, and I think the shape of it is good now that it has stuffing in it. I would typically add more at this point because I can really like compress it to the sides. I'm gonna add just a little bit more, honestly, because he's gonna play with this. He likes sleeping with his plushies and it's gonna compress. I just don't want it to get all weird and floppy again. Okay, that was all the stuffing that I'd used originally, but it is smaller than it was originally, so I think that's good. We still have a good amount of like squish to it, and it's gonna compress a bit. So now I just need to move on and do the last 2 rounds. So I'm gonna do, for this round, 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, and then the final round is just gonna be 8 decreases, and then we will stitch it shut. Those 2 rounds are done. The piece is almost closed up, so I'm just gonna snip off a long thread so that way we can weave the end shut. So I'm just gonna thread this into my darning needle, and then we're gonna weave it through the front loop of all of the stitches of the last round, and that's gonna create, I think it's called like a cinch closure or something. So that way there's no holes in our piece at all. Alright, I pulled that shut, tied a knot, and now I'm gonna weave the end through a few stitches and then through the body to make sure it doesn't come loose anywhere. So I like to get the tail really into the body and try to kind of like lose it in the stuffing. So I just go a few times all the way around the body, trying to go like really into it and out the other side. Then we're just gonna snip that and squish it to loosen it up. And our plushie is done. So he is obviously a lot smaller than he was at first, but he's a lot sturdier, a lot better, and it's gonna be really soft and squishy to sleep with. I definitely have leftover yarn, which I did not expect, so I think I could whip up a little mini one. I won't be able to do any tentacle tendril thingies, but I can do a little mini octo. That will work. My mini guy is done. I would call this a little octo, but it has only 6 bumpy thingies, so I don't know. He's just a little mini plushy guy. I meant to record when I was doing that, and then once I finished, I realized I didn't press start, so that's cool. But we finished, we finished our jellyfish and made a little mini guy to go with him. I'm gonna go give these to my brother now before he goes to bed, and then I will be back to close off this video. Okay, I gave the jellyfish to my brother and he absolutely loved it. He especially loved that there was a baby and he was so excited, which is awesome. I was right that he did not want eyes on them. He likes them a lot better without eyes for whatever reason, so I'm very happy about that. Now, if you guys watch this video all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching and supporting me and supporting my channel. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content, as I post new videos every week and sometimes twice. Now, hopefully I will see you guys next week. Bye!